Okay, folks, so today we're going to be taking a look at a bike that I've kind of been putting off riding, but I think it's a good time to start with this bike. See, what I want to do is I want to start taking Harley Davidson bikes, doing a review on them, and then comparing them to their competitors, doing a review on each one of their competitors, and doing a final comparison at the end, the strengths and weaknesses. See, I fully believe that there is a lot of bikes that Harley puts out that are great. Like with any bike company, I think that there are some that are missing the mark. And I want to show you what bikes those are and what the competition is. Because in the end, whatever bike you ride, at least you ride, right? And it's important to get out there and start experiencing life, but I don't want you to end up with something that you're not happy with. So we're going to be giving props to Harley wherever they deserve props, and we're going to be calling them out wherever they need to be called out on. And today we're going to start at the bottom of the lineup with the Sportster family. We're going to go out and ride one. I'm going to show you some of the other ones and my opinions on them, give you the pros and cons of that one. We're going to rank it at the end. And then the very next video in this series is going to be one of their competitors. And I probably have about four competitors to this to review and give you the pros and cons of those and see who has ultimately the better bike, in my opinion, in this category. So let's get started with the new Sportster family from Harley Davidson. Okay guys, so here we are arriving at Thunder Mountain Harley Davidson, which is located in Loveland in Colorado. This is one of the absolute best Harley Davidson dealerships that I've ever been to. My guy here that I like to go see that sets all this up, his name is Jesse. So if you're in the area and you're interested in stopping by and saying hi to Jesse or just taking a look at their bikes, this dealership has never let me down. I've been working with them, going in as a customer off and on for a couple years now, and every time the experience has been great. So let's get on inside. Okay, so these are let's stop the video for a moment here. There's basically three bikes in the Sportster lineup. There is the 975, there is the Nightster S, or the Nightster, and then there is the Sportster S. What you just saw, and I'm going to go back and replay that, is the Nightster and the 975. And you see the left-hand side, the kickstand side of the bike on both of those. Take a close look because they, in my opinion, are completely unfinished on that side. When I walk around to the other side, you're going to see how well done they are. But all the exposed tubing and the wires on the other side of the bike is just such a sharp contrast that it really looks like crap. So I'm going to make a statement here real quick. I'm not going to ride these two bikes. I will not review these two bikes. If Harley cannot find it in them to finish the bike, to make it a cohesive unit, to make it a clean looking bike, if they don't have the time for it, I don't have the time for it. So let's take a look at these again. I'm going to restart the video and yeah, tell me what you think about these. Because if they, again, if they can't put the effort in, I'm not going to put the effort into these two bikes. Okay, here we go. So see that down there? That is just a mess. This side of the bike, really well designed, put together, looks great, looks what you would expect. That side of the bike, That is just horrible. I'm even gonna see if I can't throw up a picture up here so you can see a still picture. Now there's the Sportster S. One side looks great. Come on around. This side, still not of the same caliber, but at least it's a little cleaner. It's a little bit more put together. There's not just cables, hoses lying around. Here's some sound from the bike so you can hear it running. This is the one we're going to test drive today. I'm going for this bike out of the Sportster lineup. Again, I won't ride the other ones. But this is a good sounding bike-ish. We'll talk a little bit more on that in a bit. Big front wheel. Okay, I love the big bar because I'm a huge, big light bar because I'm a huge Fat Bob fan. I'm not a fan of how unfinished the rest of this front end looks. What is the deal? Industrial, if that's what they're going for, is not the same as unfinished. Now, let's take a look down here. You see that radiator, fan, and shroud. I don't know about that swing arm styling. That's kind of a little iffy, but this is better than the other Sportsters, but hey, I don't know. So let's get ready to take off on this bike. Make sure all the safety gear is on. Hold that beard back. Adjust our mirrors. Make sure everything is good here. The sound that you're hearing on the bike is a little tinny. I don't know, it's just not quite what I'm used to. Now watch my clutch work here. You'll see with this bike, your clutch engage point is pretty far out and you have to rev it to get this thing to start moving. There you go. And we're off. Now, when you see the bike later on again, or you go back, take a look at where the fuel tank cap is, the bronze area that you open up to put gas in, because one of the things about this bike is that once you start riding it, you really end up leaning forward quite a bit. My head is over where that gas tank is, that gas tank fill area that you open up, that bronze cap. Okay, we're headed out here. The bike is tiny. It just feels so small underneath you, which is fine if you're looking for a small bike. Power, there's plenty of power. Just so you know, we're in normal mode, street mode, until we get to the freeway. When we get on the freeway, I'm going to pop it up and we're going to get it in the sport mode. That's what it's looking like. I'm trying to pull back and find a good position here, but you see where that fuel tank area is when you're riding, especially when I get on the freeway. Because of just the amount of wind, you end up with your head pretty much right over that. The angle isn't shown as much. Oh, you can probably see it when it turned there. Okay, here we go. Just kind of opening it up a little bit here. Very smooth, but the tire, and I'm going to throw a picture up here in a few moments, the tire is very pointed. It's not rounded. So it makes the bike not just want to lean in, but it actually makes it a little bit unstable. It's just an awkward balance that you have to have on the bike with that pointed tire. They would have been much better served with a little bit more rounding on it. It'd be a little bit more confidence inspiring. Cruise on here. The bike's overall impression, looking at it, is that it looks pretty solid. Riding it, there's a little bit of flex in it. There is a little bit of unsurety. I don't know if that's solely due to just how pointed the tires are, but it feels like you would expect if you were looking at the unfinished side of the bike. It does not feel as polished. And I'm just going to say it. You know, I am all about improvements in technology and making things better, But the old Sportsters were a lot more solid than this bike is. The old school Sportsters, even my couple iron 883s that I've had, a lot better stability, a lot better fit and finish than this bike, which, in addition to them not completely building it out on both sides, they use a ton of plastics on this bike that do not feel like they are high quality plastics. So that's just disappointing. Now this is torturous. This road here, I wanted to feel the suspension, and it is horrible. It is one of the roughest riding bikes that I have been on, and trying to flick it back and forth while you're on such an uneven or bumpy road is just not a pleasant feeling. So a little speed on here on the straightaway. That's the highway to our right that we're going to be hopping up on. There's things you can do to this to improve the riding position, so I'm not too worried about that. But just, I don't know, the bike just does not feel very stable. I don't know what other words to use. It's very bumpy, it's very jittery, it's very plasticky. Here we go. A little bit of gravel on this part of the road here. Did make me a little nervous just because of how wobbly, how unrefined the bike felt. Get up here. That's another odd thing about you really having to rev this bike, and the combination of that far out clutch engagement, which I'm sure can be adjusted, but those two things make starting kind of weird. Okay, here we go. We're going to hop up here. Okay, going up here on the freeway. Now, does the bike have a lot of power? Yes. Does it want to move? The amount of power it has compared to how light the bike is, how small it is, this bike does want to move. The problem is that when you get up to these higher speeds, the instability of the bike really comes out. Now, if you're anywhere in the plain states, and in Colorado we're at the end of the plains right before they jump up into the Rockies here in Loveland, and we get a lot of that plains effect. The wind is crazy, and when you combine the instability of the bike, the speed of the bike, and then that crosswind, because I'm feeling a crosswind here, it scares the bejeebies out of you. This bike is not made for this at all. I have a moving van passing me right now, and he's doing about 85. I think I'm doing right around 65, 70 here. But this is the fastest that I'm going to get this bike going. It is just bouncing all over the place. It's hard to see here, but when I hit a bump, you can see those cables move there at the bottom of the screen. This bike is jumping left to right. It's every gust of wind, it is fighting. It keeps pushing me over to the right-hand side, as you can see here. I'm trying to be toward the left-hand side, but it keeps just pushing me over the wind. The wind coming on, of course, anything without a windshield, you're going to feel that. But throwing into the bad dynamics of the ride on this bike, this is just not comfortable. And if you think that this ride's good, if you think this is comfortable, you need to get out and experience some more bikes. I almost guarantee that, let me rephrase, I can't imagine that any of the other bikes that we're going to compare this to feels anything like this. They couldn't. This makes no sense. This bike is a failed attempt if you want to do any highway riding at all. In town, go real fast from stoplight to stoplight, sure, it might be good for that if you're into that. But when you're looking at the demographic for this bike, for new riders coming in are going to have experience of other bikes that are competitors, or they're going to have members in their family, and by new riders I mean new to Harley, right? They're going to have people in their family that ride, that have ridden other makes. They're going to know a little bit more about what to expect out of a bike, and this bike is going to greatly disappoint them. People in Harley, young people coming into it whose parents have ridden, their parents aren't going to let them get this bike. This is just, yeah, no, I think that they need to rethink this bike. I expect that we're going to have some changes within the first few years. I don't see this being a model platform like the old Sports. There was what, around 30 years or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen with this platform. I couldn't imagine it. The confusion on design between industrial and unfinished, the instability of the bike. I mean, it's got some good features on paper, but in living with this, and you'll see I'm tinkering right now. I'm looking down, tinkering with that gas tank lid to kind of measure where my head's been. The ergonomics on it, the amount of really crappy plastic, I am very disappointed. And again, I'm going to go back and reiterate that the other two bikes, the other two Sportsters, there's just no way I'm going to waste my time even riding those, because they're going to be even more unfinished. They look horrible. If they can't even put the time and energy into making it look correctly or look appealing, they're not going to have put the engineering into the ride. So I don't see those being better than this, and this is the top of the Sportster lineup. I am incredibly disappointed. I am a huge fan of Sportsters. I love, and by Sportsters I mean the previous generation. The customizability, I mean everything about it was screaming for the Harley riders. It was extremely well built. A lot of people talk about power and stuff. All those things you can change, and you're going to change anyway. You're going to start customizing it. But there's a lot to be said. It filled the niche perfectly. This bike is a huge disappointment. There's absolutely no way that a typical rider, and you can't say 100% because nothing's 100%, but the vast majority, the typical rider, would choose this bike at this price point if they also test drove the entry-level Softails at the same price point thereabouts. There's no comparison, quality and everything else. So I've been putting off this bike review simply because I didn't like the fit and finish that was done on them. And I was afraid that I would be super disappointed by the ride, and I was right. I am pretty disappointed about the ride. I don't think I've ever had a Harley video or a review where I have just been so negative or so down on the bike. This is one to ride when you're shopping, just so you can compare it to everything else, to know the strengths of all the competition, I'm sorry to say. But this is definitely a pass, this bike. In a moment we're going to get over and we're going to look at the categories we're going to be rating it on, and we're going to give you those ratings so that you can see what we're going to be doing the comparative videos on with the other bikes, and so we can measure them apples to apples. Okay, so let's get into some specs on the bike using Harley Davidson's information from their website. So the fuel capacity on this bike is 3.1 gallons. which by the time you get through that 3.1 gallons, you're going to want to get off the bike anyway, because it is not the most comfortable thing to ride. The weight on this bike comes in at 502 pounds with all the fluids in running order. Now the published torque on this bike is 93 foot-pounds that peak at 6,000 RPMs. This is going to be accompanied by 121 horsepower at 7,500 RPMs. So it's a high revving bike. They're going after that sport bike type of experience. The economy on this bike comes in at 49 miles per gallon, which results in a range of 151 miles. Like I said before, that's the farthest you're going to want to ride on this bike in one sitting. Now, this all comes in at a starting cost of $17,000. That's not with any additional options. That's $16,999, which I'm going to call $17,000 right from the beginning. Now, how does this make any sense? Let's get into my thoughts and opinions. And keep in mind, these are my personal thoughts and opinions on the bike. After I'm done, you can see if you agree. Fit and finish, I would rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 at about a 3. We've already talked about this repeatedly through the video. Stability, I would say, without considering the wind, is a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. But when you do factor in that crosswind into this, you'll see that we drop it to a 2. There is no environment that has any wind that this bike would be good in. Sound on that exhaust, I would rate that at about a 4. It's a bit tinny. And your suspension, I am just not a fan of this suspension. I'm going to rate it at a 2. It is not near where it should be for this type of riding. The design, which is the appearance, I would put that at a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, primarily because they didn't complete the bike. Value is up next, and that's cost versus content. I would rate that at a solid 2. This bike is way overpriced. If you were at $10,000, that would be a totally different argument. Let's get into the final rating, which is going to be the aftermarket support. I'm going to have to rate this at a 4. There's not a lot of aftermarket support out there, and I don't think that the aftermarket community is going to invest any more into this bike. Part of that is because I, along with many others in the industry, expect this bike to be like the street models. They're going to be here for 3 or 4 years, and then they're going to be gone. Harley's got to do something. They can't produce a $10,000 bike and put it in the $17,000 price range and expect it to work. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate your participation in this. Leave me comments as what you think, and watch out for that next video where I'm going to be comparing a competitor in this range, this type of bike, and see how it fares against the Harley. I'll see you on the next video.